Hello, my name's Deluge, and I'm going to be talking about the Switch Skills Swap. Yeah, yeah, I did it. But fuck, I should have kept the momentum. Hey, Deluge here, and I'm going to take a moment of your time to talk about the Switch Skills Swap. Pretty simple. I'm sure everybody is aware that you can just swap between your scrolls, and then you get two different loadouts depending on which scroll you're at. Pretty simple, right? But one thing I really love about this is Switch Skill Swap Evade, which I'm sure we're all very aware of, but I like that it's very good at circling around the monster. You see that I'm right here in front of the boy? There's left, boom, there I am at his flank. And actually, let's see, I was about here. There I am, back in front. There I am, at his side. And it's really good for just getting out of dodge. Like, the forward one doesn't send you too far forwards. I mainly noticed that you get a lot of movement going to the left. Oops. To the left or to the right. Really good for movement, really good for momentum, especially with Switch Axe, which can just run while in freaking while the weapon's out. There's also a handful of skills that work super well with the swap evade, and that's another thing that really just makes me enjoy it a lot. Let's see here. There's one in particular, Quick Breath, which is it removes statuses and you get your health back when you do switch skill swap evade. Which on this build I have like 1 point of coalescence purely because I'm going to be skill swapping a lot. Also the 1 point of evade extender, which that's really all you need. You can go 2 points, you can go through a whole 3 points, just go flying around. But for me personally, just with Switch Axe, like with the normal hops, 1 point's plenty. I also have I think I have full evade window on this setup as well. Yeah, well, evade window level 4, but still, I have a lot of evade window. Skill swap evade's a really good option for a lot of reasons. Mainly because they give you all of these wire bug arts, and now you actually have a reason to use a lot of them. Like, me personally, I never used Soaring Wyvern Blade. I had really, because Invincible Gambit was just so much better in my opinion. I could go through roars, I could tank hits, I could just get in there, freaking spam it, get out, do whatever I need to do. Like, and then I had Switch Charger to move me forwards, like once I did the compressed finishing discharge. Because that was the only discharge I'd use. And because it would get me right into amp state. Boom, back to the Switch Charger. But now that I have the ability to do Soaring Wyvern Blade, I have it comboed into, once I do a latch on, fall off, boom, right into that. And then I also have the Element Burst counter, but that's just mainly, I don't use it a whole lot. It's mainly just there to fill up the last slot, because I'm also using the other switch skill, which is the 2-stage Morph Slash combo, which is also really good for getting you into amp state. But also, it puts you back into sword mode if your axe mode is like in the purple state where it's like mostly empty. It'll force you right back into sword mode, which is fantastic. But yeah, with skill swap didn't exist, I would have no reason to use those. I would be honest with you, I'd probably still do the normal wild swing finisher just because I love the wild sweep. I would still be using compressed finishing discharge because this is the poison file Switch Axe, which is usually that's what I go for, is either exhaust or poison file because they charge super fast. But with those, it's like, well, it doesn't really matter if I'm missing out on the extra damage from the latch on, simply because the compressed finishing discharge deals out so much damage, it doesn't really matter. And then boom, you're into amp state. Grab a Switch Charger, and then just kind of wail on the monster and axe move for a little bit. Because then, essentially, when you're in amp state, your axe attacks are more or less doing double damage. I don't know if that's exactly the percentage value or what have you, but it's definitely a lot of extra damage. And then you combo that with like Breath and Coalescence, as well as having like a point in Foray and other things. and Coalescence, and you combo that with Quick Breath. Since it's a poison file, I'll get the extra plus 10 attack power. In all honesty, I'd like to have 2 points, but I have not gotten particularly lucky on my Curious crafting rolls, but I do also have like that 1 point of poison tag just for the bonus build up. I'm also noticing that the skill swap, not just the evade, but just the skill swap in general, is probably probably most useful in my opinion for weapons like Switch Axe and Charge Blade, who can change like their playstyle like pretty much like on the fly. Because with the Switch Axe, you have the two finishing discharges, 2 completely different ways to finish your discharge, whether it's latch on or just going for the compressed finishing. But also with something like Charge Blade, you also have the 2 different sword charge modes. So you just have your standard one, but notice my sword's already charged. Well, now I'm straight into doing the condensed spinning slashes, right? And I could do my freaking air dash spam, and then transform back into sword mode. Get some more files. Finish off with like actually, what I can also do is do Morphing Advance, skill swap, right back in, and then continue with the spinning discharges, which is one of the reasons I very much enjoy Charge Blade, because I can just swap what I'm doing on the fly. Like, I also have Ready Stance, so I just continue the combo. Doesn't matter. You know, I see something coming my way. Easy. And then I can also just kind of swap back, and if I need files, boom, Counter Peak Performance, get my files back, and then I can also just straight up charge my sword out of that as well, which is fantastic. But you do need to be careful when doing that, because if you skill swap, action mode, boom, sword charge is gone, and it does come back when you transform again. So then you have to like manually charge your sword again. So that's something I'd try to keep an eye out for. But that's why I have. That's also why I really like Morphing Advance, and I can just skill swap into that. It also moves you forwards a whole lot, so it's definitely a lot more uptime. It's just really slick. I just enjoy it a lot. It's probably one of my favorite ways to play Charge Blade in this game. It's just swapping between like normal sword mode and then spinning mode, and then just spam this. I love this so much. It's so much fun. I'm running points in artillery. I have some handicraft as well as like a few points in guard. Of course, Rapid Morph and then Defiance for sure. But like, it's definitely like a hybrid setup. Like, I could honestly probably remove the artillery and maybe get some more points in, either like offensive guard or evade extender or some other skill. That'd probably do me a little bit more benefit, but for the sake of it being like a true hybrid build, I am going to be doing like super amped elemental discharges and such, so having those points in artillery is definitely going to be a lot more helpful than like evade extender or, you know, like some throwaway points into like attack boost or something. Just to discuss like the whole hybridization thing. This is not a hybrid build like at all. All this build does is try to get into spinning slash as fast as possible. So my first loadout is Counter Peak Performance with a Morphing Advance. Mainly because if I'm gonna be like looking to get files, I'm definitely gonna want to be able to like zip around and get into position to do that. But on the second one, it is just Ready Stance and Air Dash, mainly because, you know, this is a status trigger foray spamming build. It has a few points in guard, purely out of coincidence, some lucky rolls. But yeah, overall, you're just gonna want to just sit here and like spam that, do that, go right back into that. So there's no artillery on this build. It's just like a purely just straight up spin slash melee Charge Blade build. Mainly because all the attacks that I'm doing are just, they don't rely on the artillery buffs for the most part, since I'm getting more damage out of the spinning rather than the discharging. But it's just a really cool little idea that I had a while ago. Then we have some like very cool unique skills, like on the Scorned Magnum Mullow armor. But you have not Hellfire Cloak. There it is, melee Hellfire. where it actually directly benefits from which swap scroll you're on. Whereas with the red scroll, I have less defense, but my attack rating goes up. But in blue scroll, your elemental resistance goes down, but your element attack goes way, way up. So as you can see right now, I'm missing almost like 100 defense, but I have, shit, I think that's like an extra 30 attack. Let's swap over and see. Yeah, it's extra 75, that's extra, oh yeah, extra 25 attack. 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, that's an extra 35 attack, that's a lot. But as you can see, I also lost about 100 defense, but I gained quite a bit of fire element, but if you'll notice by element resistances, they're all way above 30. Like, one's even in minus 62. So just think about that as like in units of 10, so that's extra 60% damage. So very dangerous, but I like that it directly benefits from which scroll you're on. Like if I'm fighting a monster that has like, maybe this weapon doesn't deal that much element damage, but it's got a good AR and I'm running points and crit boost, so I should be able to deal enough damage to it, you know, to make ends meet if I'm like, you know, just kind of hanging out. Or maybe you're looking to get the part break on that particular part, and then once you get that part break, you can just go in there with the element damage. So I notice a lot of monsters, they get way better elemental hit zones once the part break happens, so maybe run some points in part breaker. Although what's nice about Sword and Shield is that there's actually an art that increases its, there's a wire bug skill that increases the amount of part breaking damage it can do. So I feel like, mainly, I feel like Sword and Shield, Insect Glaive probably benefit the most from this. Maybe also Dual Blades to some capacity, but I don't play Dual Blades enough to like know the difference. But I do notice a huge difference when I play Sword Shield with Mail of Hellfire. That's just another way that I really love that they incorporated that into the switch skill swap. You also get points in redirection on this build, which is basically just like an adept dodge that charges your wire bugs up faster, which is really nice, especially if you're going to be like spamming Windmill or like Metsu Shurigeki. Like they're expensive skills. They take 2 wire bugs each, and I believe they either have a medium or a long cooldown, which even the medium cooldown is quite a while. So being able to use redirection to get your wire bugs to charge back faster is like kind of crazy good. Especially if you're running a build that has, or a higher weapon I guess, that has extremely powerful wire bug skills. There's also probably honorable mention to like Furious. I haven't made a Furious build yet, but it does seem like it'd be really great for if you don't particularly want to run Weakness Exploit. You could just run 3 points in maximum might, and then that's 30% affinity. So with like Agitator, maybe some points in Critical Eye, and also having a weapon that has like a pretty decent chunk of affinity, you could probably make a really strong build with that. And then I believe there's everybody's go-to, which is Dereliction. I haven't played around with that at all. I might get around to it at some point, but I like not failing my quests. So, yeah. That's basically the long and short of it. If you do like using Dereliction, if it's like your fun, like go-to, you don't like card out on quests and stuff, then hey, go for it. But for me, I'm pretty basic. I do enjoy Mail of Hellfire, and I need to get around to making some Furious builds because I know they're going to be super fun. But at the moment, I'm mainly just enjoying the combination of like Foray, Breath, and also Coalescence, which can be extremely potent, especially if you're running a status weapon. Well, no, it's the whole point is that I am running a status weapon. So with Foray, I get an extra plus 10 attack. Coalescence, I get an extra plus 12 attack with some extra status buildup on top of like already having high status, and I can just kind of swap in, because Breath is kind of like the core of this build, kind of like unofficially the core, because it can still function if you have like null berries and whatnot. So yeah, overall, the switch skill swap kind of really good. I really like you getting evade out of it. I really like that it's making me try different things. I also like that I have several different Switch X like loadouts and playstyles. Like I mainly just use the / on both scrolls. It's /, but I have a few switch-axe setups, mainly with power file, that I prefer the overhead slam, mainly because it closes way more distance. It's also like a big chunky hit, especially when I've got that power file amping my axe state. So yeah, don't sleep on the switch skill swap. Try out some different things. Try out breath. I highly recommend breath. Like coalescence is a decoration now that after title update 1. So go ahead and make yourself some of those, slap them in where you can. I mean, if you get coalescence on the curios crafting, go for it. Also, it's like, hey, this is kind of a stupid thing that I like to do, but when I'm hunting a monster that doesn't have any elementals, or can't like inflict me with elemental blight, like I'll grab like a poison toad or a sleep toad or like a paratoad, and I'll just like toad myself like midway through the hunt just so I get a coalescence proc. So mainly like if you're going to do that outside of like I guess the poison toad, make sure your teammates know that you're doing that so you don't, you know, sleep your teammates or paralyze your teammates, because they may not have paralysis resistance or they may not have energy drinks, so just keep that in mind. But it's a little fun thing I like doing. So yeah, all in all, skill swap evade, put a point of evade extender in there, try out breath, it's fantastic. May your hunts be fruitful. I like that. And have a great rest of your day.